Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly developer diary. So for this week, I just decided to do some various pixel art for when I eventually make a turn-based strategy game for my final year project. So first of all, I'll just show you the few things I've made this week. I made this like lizard man, like enemy slash like character. So as you can see, it's like a sort of like big red barbarian-esque lizard man. See, he's got this sort of strap going across his arm. He's got some shoulder pad armor. He's got a belt with a bit of like a rag hanging off, and some little side bits of like leather-looking armor. And then I've just given him like a basic like iron or like steel sword, and then he's got his like got some. I decided to give him quite like a big burly build. Got these bits of stripes on his arms, and I'm quite happy with how this just came out. I mean, the only thing I'd maybe change is add a little bit of, maybe change some of the colours and shading. I'm quite happy with how, like, the shape of it and how it looks, but just maybe some slight tweaks to colours. I think this will be perfect then. So this is the first thing I created because I thought I wanted to take this week and just make some various art pieces for when I make a turn-based strategy game. And I'll show you the others I've made, and then I'll just talk about that a bit more. So next, I created a more advanced house, because if you remember a few weeks ago, I made like a very basic house from like a top-down view in like an RPG-esque game. But I decided I want to make a more advanced-looking building, so I tried making a like lumber mill. So you can see I've got these logs here. I've got it's a quite large building with all these wooden struts going through it. On the top here, you've got a saw blade with a log going into it, and I think this works quite well. I think the only things I want to change is these stripes on the roof look a bit off. Just how like the ones lower down are like a bit too dark. So I think I want to change the colour of these stripes on the roof, but other than that, I'm quite happy with how this looks. And for the next thing, if you remember, I made this player character idea for my turn-based strategy game. I decided to try and make a like chibi icon slash maybe overworld sprite for it. So as you can see, I used the exact same color palette to make sure it was consistent. And as you can just compare it, this is what it looks like in a non-chibi just art style. This is more like maybe like a Super Nintendo art style. And then here is it in a more somewhat similar to like the like early Pokemon games, like the pixel art and like the overworld of them, somewhat similar to them. How it's like these big chibi heads and then small little bodies. And I think it looks quite good. I'm quite happy with how this looks. So the reason I decided to do these was because I'll be starting my third year of uni in a little over a month and a week, probably. But that's when I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to start actually working on my turn-based strategy game for my final year project. And I just wanted to one get some more things done that I can actually use in a turn-based strategy game. And I've also just been thinking a lot about what I could actually do and just various ideas. And I've also just been playing a fair amount of turn-based strategy games just to get inspiration. So like I've been playing games such as Pokemon, Fire Emblem, Octopath Traveler, Paper Mario, just like Mario and Luigi's, all sorts of like different RPGs with all sorts of different mechanics and themes. Just try and get some sort of inspiration. Slay the Spire and Dicey Dungeons, like some roguelike ones I've played. And I'm just trying to. I've just been mainly trying to think of what could be a good and unique idea for a turn-based strategy game. Because one idea I have is one idea I have is making a somewhat like typical turn-based RPG with that is quite story-based. My and some main story ideas I'd have for that are somewhat like moral dilemmas, which I think would be a cool idea to focus on in the story. Maybe even have branching paths. Obviously, that's maybe going a bit too big on scope, but saying that I'll have a year to work on it almost. Oh well, a uni year. But one idea I had was, yeah, a somewhat typical RPG where I would want it to have sort of like a moral focus on like what is right and wrong in certain situations. My only issue with that idea would be it's not the most creative, having just it be a fantasy world with like medieval setting. It's not the most unique, but saying that, I do think having a really good story could really carry a game like that. And story writing is something I've not actually done before in any of my games, so that's something I'd like to learn. Another cool like idea or concept I've been dabbling thinking about is I playing Pokemon. I've done a few like Nuzlocks, which are essentially challenges where you have permadeath. So if a Pokemon dies, it's just gone forever. You can't use that anymore, and you only get a certain like limit of Pokemon while doing it, or something like Fire Emblem permadeath. So I thought maybe a cool idea could make a game that is directly inspired by like Nuzlocke. So it could be like a monster training slash fighting game with the twist being you only get so many monsters, and if your monster dies then it is dead, it's gone, you know? So it just makes it a lot more like higher stakes and makes the player have to play a lot more carefully and calculated. I think that could be a cool idea. And another thing with that is one of my favourite things, just in game design in general, is doing the art and the character design. As you can probably tell from the amount of pixel art I like doing, one of my favourite things to do is just drawing and designing various characters and just monsters and just anything. So I think a game that focuses on various different monster creatures would really lean into my strength of me liking and enjoying doing various different character designs. The only thing with that is I'd need to have something to I'd need to come up with an idea for the actual battle system to make it unique. So I wouldn't want just say I just did a type chart like Pokemon for example. I wouldn't want just that because having a already having a game where it focuses on monsters and like monster taming and training already leans into Pokemon too much. So I'd want to make sure to differentiate it from Pokemon as much as possible. Maybe by having, for example, making it so attacks were like action based. It's somewhat similar to Paper Mario or the Mario and Luigi RPG games, where you'd have to input certain buttons on like certain timings or actions. So, for example, in Paper Mario, you'd have to press the A button at the exact time Mario jumps on an enemy to get more bonus damage and get more out of your attack. So maybe I could do something like that. But obviously, these are all just ideas I'm just spitballing around. Another idea I had was having it be like a 2D platformer, somewhat similar to Indivisible or Super Paper Mario, where it's a 2D platformer, but then when you hit an enemy, it goes to a turn-based battle system. But obviously, these are all just ideas and concepts I've just been brainstorming, and I'm still not stuck on a particular one. I just want trying to make sure that when I do decide, I've got an idea that I'm happy with because I don't want to put a lot of time and effort into an idea only to regret it later and wish I chose a different one. So there's just a few ideas I've just been thinking of. So I think one of my main things is wanting to make sure my turn-based battle system is different, whether it be I do have a type chart, it be enemies having some sort of guard system similar to Octopath Traveler or like Persona where a certain attack breaks the guard, whether it be you have to time button impresses or do certain inputs with attacks to get more bonus damage. I just want to make sure I have something to differentiate the battle system is one of the main things. So thanks for that's everything I've managed to get done this week. I think for next week I'm gonna have a serious think on just what I want my turn-based strategy game to be, because I want to make sure I get a bit of a head start on that. And obviously I'm still doing work on my other projects like Orbit and the Soulbound turn-based platformer concept. It's just having all these different projects at once. Sometimes I just have to prioritize different. Right now, I'm just going off what one I'm feeling is the most important or I'm just most motivated for at the time. And in hindsight, I probably should just focus on one project, but oh well. You know, I'm just gonna work on what I'm enjoying at the time for now. So that's everything. So thanks for watching and listening to me ramble about my game ideas. And I'll see you all next week. Alright, peace.